And can they begin a winning run tomorrow in the North London derby, which you can see from 4:30 live on Sky Sports Premier League. Tim, let's talk about the man we just heard from. Will mark his 100th Premier League appearance for the Gunners tomorrow in that game. We've talked about Bukayo Saka over the course of the last few seasons as being Arsenal's most important player. In terms of players who can somehow drag them across the line, end this long wait for a title, is the man we just heard from right now the most important player in doing that?
Yeah, 100%. I want 11 Declan Rices, please. And I think if they did have 11 Declan Rices, they would have already won this title.
Have you seen him in goal?
He's amazing. Forget where he plays. It's just his drive. If he doesn't play well, he'll make players around him better. And I believe he's authentic. I believe what he says. You know, there's no acting there. I just think it's tough for him at the moment, and it's going to be tough. But I think Declan's absolutely right there. They have to have a positive mindset. The 5 points clear. They would have took that at the beginning of the season. Forget what's gone. Forget that they drew 2-2 with Wolves, the worst team, you know, nearly in the history of the Premier League, with a 2-goal lead, and they throw it away. They have to forget all of that. They have to really.
How do you though forget that? As I mentioned right at the start, it's only 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, forget.
Merce was sat here talking about that 9-point lead at the end of the Saturday show.
It's gone. And why people? Because I've been in that position myself. The reason why people ask you about are you going to bottle it? Is it about the mentality? It's because you're in it. You know, people are not asking Liverpool players about there because they're not in it. They're not asking Chelsea players because they're not in it. Not Tottenham players, not Man United.
So you want to be
players.
asked those questions?
Of course you want to, because you have to embrace that. You just say, we're asking them questions and we love it because that means we're in it. The unfortunate thing is for Arsenal is they've been in there for the last 3 years and they've come up second. So everyone's going to point the finger and say they do it again. There's going to have to be a time when they do get over the line. And if they do get over the line, they could be a real threat. But it gets harder. If you was not to do it this year, it will get harder again next year because other teams will get better. And I think they've had a fantastic lead. Of course they have. But forget about it now. It's a clean slate. I hear Mikel Arteta talking about this might be the game we need, a North London derby. But it might be also the game that Tottenham need, an Igor Tudor. Yeah.
It's massive, simply huge for both sides, and we'll look at it in more detail in a short while. But Clinton, reflecting on what happened Wednesday night on Molineux, they're 2-0 up, and then dramatically right at the end, they leave Molineux with looking on as Manchester City. We shouldn't forget Aston Villa because they win later today. They go 5 points behind us. They draw level on points with City ahead of their game later this evening against Newcastle from 8 o'clock. But if you're looking on and seeing those scenes at the end, you're seeing a fragility, aren't you? You're seeing an opportunity.
Yeah, I think so. And, you know, when you listen to Pep Guardiola, he just says we're just focusing on ourselves. We're just focusing on getting our job done. And they've got that experience. They've got that know-how, the manager that's done it. Yes, you can say some of the squad haven't been there, but the fact that Pep Guardiola's been there, that the club's been there, they know how to get over the line. So, yeah, of course, and you can imagine there will be huge pressure, huge emotion, whether that's the fans in the ground, whether that's the players, the manager, because it's been a long time, hasn't it, since they've won the trophy. They've come close so many times. So now it's a case of we just have to get it done. And that game against Wolves, I think, you know, the fact that you can see there, can't you, the Opta predictor.
Is Opta all right?
I was going to say don't ask Merce, but
I just think no, and it's just going to be close, isn't it? That's the thing. There's going to be so many more twists and turns to this. So, you know, we can't overreact to one result. I think 1 week we'll say, oh, it's definitely Arsenal's. The next week it's Manchester City's. We just don't know. And there will be games. Yes, they've got to play each other, but there'll be other games where they could potentially slip up.
And Boydie, what we've seen historically, particularly you remember the Manchester United years under Sir Alex Ferguson, they would always get a result somehow. They were ruthless in their pursuit of Premier League title after Premier League title. How do Arsenal discover some ruthlessness now between now and the end of May?
I mean, looking at them, especially defending now, they're too eager for me. You know, you look at, I think they were praised so much for their, their defensive stability at the start of the season. You look at it now and bodies getting thrown in front. Gabriel wants to go and header it. David Ray's coming out his goals. I don't think he needs to. It's as if they're trying to make sure that everything's done properly. And when you do that, you end up, you know, maybe making mistakes when you're lunging into things, when you're making decisions that
and
you
that's
just want to
born out
clear.
here, isn't it? Because you first 20 games, points per game 2.4.
Simon,
to 1.4.
we were listening. If you go back to the start of the season as well, everybody was talking about Chelsea's record was in doubt. You know, that clean sheet record, the amount of goals. I mean, they've fallen off a cliff in terms of that defensive unit, but I think it comes from further up the pitch as well. You know, they're not creating the same amount. They're definitely not taking the chances that are being created. there's a lot of noise around Arsenal, and you kind of get the feeling that this will just be suiting Manchester City now. There's a lot of noise around Arsenal. There has been for a number of months now. There's an expectation there now, and they're going to have to deliver. They're going to have to find a way to get over. They've been nearly men the last few seasons. They're going to have to find a way to go over the line.
And is key to getting over the line, because you look at goal scorers in the Premier League for them. It's only Gyökeres who's above 5 for them at the moment.
Yeah.
Kai Havertz, we're waiting to see if he's going to be fit enough to play in the North London derby. It sounded reasonably positive for Arteta tomorrow.
Yeah.
Is he potentially the key going forward to keep him fit? Because his influence on the side is huge, isn't it?
Yeah. I think from open play, I think he's got the guile to open up defences, in tight areas. A lot of teams play against him. We don't know how. With Igor too, doesn't decide how he's going to go about it tomorrow. But I would imagine he would sit quite deep and try and counter-attack. So there's not going to be a lot of room to operate. You're going to need players who can operate in tight areas with disguised passing.
You see Saka in that number 10 role again?
Well,